The island has been inhabited since the 16th century, when people from France and Madagascar settled there. Slavery was abolished on December 20, 1848, a date celebrated yearly on the island, when the French Second Republic abolished slavery in the French colonies. Indentured workers continued to be brought to Réunion from South India, among other places, however. The island became an overseas department of France in 1946. As in France, the official language is French. In addition, the majority of the region's population speaks Réunion Creole. Administratively, Réunion is one of the overseas departments of France. Like the other 4 overseas departments, it is also one of the 18 regions of France, with the modified status of overseas region, and an integral part of the Republic with the same status as metropolitan France. Réunion is an outermost region of the European Union and, as an overseas department of France, part of the Eurozone. Not much is known of Réunion's history prior to the arrival of the Portuguese in the early 16th century. Arab traders were familiar with it by the name Dina Morgaven, Western Island. The island is possibly featured on a map from 1153 AD by Al-Sharif el-Idrisi. Citation needed. The island might also have been visited by Swahili or Austronesian, ancient Indonesian, Malaysian, sailors on their journey to the west from the Malay archipelago to Madagascar. The first European discovery of the area was made around 1507 by Portuguese explorer Diogo Fernandes Pereira, but the specifics are unclear. The uninhabited island might have been first sighted by the expedition led by Dom Pedro Mascarenhas, who gave his name to the island group around Réunion, the Mascarenhas. Réunion itself was dubbed Santa Apollonia after a favorite saint, which suggests that the date of the Portuguese discovery could have been February 9, her saint day. Diogo Lopes de Siqueira is said to have landed on the islands of Réunion and Rodrigues in 1509. By the early 1600s, nominal Portuguese rule had left Santa Apollonia virtually untouched. The island was then occupied by France and administered from Port Louis, Mauritius. Although the first French claims date from 1638, when François Koch and Salomon Gaubert visited in June 1638, the island was officially claimed by Jacques Pronis of France in 1642, when he deported a dozen French mutineers to the island from Madagascar. The convicts were returned to France several years later, and in 1649, the island was named Isle Bourbon after the French royal house of Bourbon. Colonization started in 1665, when the French East India Company sent the first settlers. Isle de la Réunion was the name given to the island in 1793 by a decree of the Convention Nationale, the elected revolutionary constituent assembly, with the fall of the House of Bourbon in France, and the name commemorates the union of revolutionaries from Marseille with the National Guard in Paris, which took place on August 10, 1792. In 1801, the island was renamed Isle Bonaparte, after First Consul Napoleon Bonaparte. During the Napoleonic Wars, the island was invaded by a Royal Navy squadron led by Commodore Josias Rowley in 1810, who used the old name of Bourbon. When it was restored to France by the Congress of Vienna in 1815, the island retained the name of Bourbon until the fall of the restored Bourbons during the French Revolution of 1848, when the island was once again given the name Isle de la Réunion. From the 17th to 19th centuries, French colonization, supplemented by importing Africans, Chinese, and Indians as workers, contributed to ethnic diversity in the population. From 1690, most of the non-Europeans were enslaved. The colony abolished slavery on December 20, 1848. Afterwards, many of the foreign workers came as indentured workers. The the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869 reduced the importance of the island as a stopover on the East Indies trade route. Hindu Festival, 19th century. During the Second World War, Réunion was under the authority of the Vichy regime until November 30, 1942, when Free French forces took over the island with the destroyer Leopard. Réunion became a Département d'Outre-mer, Overseas Department, of France on March 19, 1946. INSEE assigned to Réunion the Department Code 974, and the Region Code 04 when regional councils were created in 1982 in France, including in existing overseas departments which also became overseas regions. Over about 2 decades in the late 20th century, 1963, 1982, 1,630 children from Réunion were relocated to rural areas of metropolitan France, particularly to Cruz, ostensibly for education and work opportunities. That program was led by influential Gaullist politician Michel Debré, who was an MP for Réunion at the time. Many of these children were abused or disadvantaged by the families with whom they were placed. Known as the Children of Cruz, they and their fate came to light in 2002 when one of them, Jean-Jacques Marshall, filed suit against the French state for kidnapping and deportation of a minor. Other similar lawsuits were filed over the following years, but all were dismissed by French courts and finally by the European Court of Human Rights in 2011. In 2005 and 2006, Réunion was hit by a crippling epidemic of chikungunya, a disease spread by mosquitoes. According to the BBC News, 255,000 people on Réunion had contracted the disease as of April 26, 2006. The neighboring islands of Mauritius and Madagascar also suffered epidemics of this disease during the same year. A few cases also appeared in mainland France, carried by people traveling by airline. The French government of Dominique de Villepin sent an emergency aid package worth €36 million and deployed about 500 troops in an effort to eradicate mosquitoes on the island.